Welcome back to the sticker channel. We're inside the little cabin in the valley at Blue Jacket Archery, and Albert's going to do a little demonstration here of the importance of having your fixed blades, or any blades for that matter, sharp. And he's going to explain a little bit about that. So I'll turn it over to Al here.
Howdy, Albert Moore, Blue Jacket Archery here again this afternoon. And right now what we're going to do, we're going to show you kind of an old school way to check to see if your broadheads are sharp or not. Now, why is that critical? Well, broadheads don't kill by blunt force trauma, unlike that stupid rage, but and they don't kill by kinetic energy like a bullet. They kill from mass hemorrhage. Well, the only way to get mass hemorrhage is that broadhead has to literally be so sharp it literally slices everything that it comes in contact with. So we have 4 fixed blade heads here today that we're going to do the sharpness test on. Then we're going to move outside and shoot them through the plywood and check for penetration, the whole 9 yards. Now, the first head we have is the Wasp Boss. That head's been on the market for a long time. It's got the steel trocar tip and the aluminum ferrule. And we have the Wasp Drone, which is a steel ferrule trocar tip and a little bit shorter, blades are angled a little harder. We're going to test that one. Then we have the Muzzy MX3. Everybody's familiar with the Muzzy. Then we also have the G5 Striker. Okay, the Striker has been one of my favorite heads for a long time. But now, how are we going to check for sharpness? We don't have any fancy computerized stuff to tell you how sharp the blades are. What we do, we simply take looms or a tin can, whatever. We stretch rubber bands across it. The rubber bands represent stretched out muscle tissue and sinew in an animal's body. When that muscle and tissue is in that animal's body, it's stretched out tight, it's under tension. So we're going to shove these broadheads through here, and based on how easily and how many of those rubber bands they cut, will tell you if that broadhead is sharp or not. Now, what are we looking for here? We are looking for not razor sharp broadheads. We are looking for scalpel sharp broadheads. All right. I've even had razor blades that wouldn't cut, especially the crap coming out of China anymore. I can't even buy a decent razor blade anymore. Anyway, so scalpel sharp is what we're after. So let's start with the Boss 3-blade, Wasp Boss 3-blade. Good U.S. made broadhead. Actually, they're based out of right here in Pennsylvania. So here we go. I'm going to start it through here. Now watch what happens. All right, it cut pretty good. Not like I'd like to see it, but it didn't do too bad. It's cutting pretty much, well, it's cutting pretty much everything it comes in contact with, so it's not too bad. Let's take the Wasp Drone now. Wow, that one did pretty good. That one cut virtually just about everything it came in contact. What I'm looking for here, folks, is if that broadhead actually pushes those rubber bands and then rolls the rubber bands out around the head, or out around the blades, then you know it's not sharp. The broadhead should cut everything it comes in contact with. So now, let's go to the Muzzy MX3. See how it does. Wow, I'm actually having to push pretty hard there. It did cut them, but I had to push a little bit harder than I did on either one of the Wasp heads. So far that Wasp Boss seems to be doing the best, I believe. Now let's go to the Striker V2. All right. Wow, that Striker, wow, that did a good job. That thing virtually cut everything. Yeah, that's not bad head there, folks. So that's just a quick way to tell, and based on how much pressure you got to put on here will tell you about how sharp that head is. It's just an old school thing I've learned over the years, simply because I'm rapidly becoming as old as dirt. But anyhow, that's it. Hey, we're going to move outside here very shortly, and we're going to do we're going to shoot these things into our plywood box and see how they do.
We're going to have part 2 of an earlier video we had. We did some mechanicals here. Compliments to my buddy Al over here. Say hi, Al. That's Al, owner of Blue Jacket Archery. Al's gathered up some heads here, and today we're going to do 4 fixed blade tests. What did we say it was? 5/8 plywood on the front?
5/8 plywood on the face.
5/8.
And then separate with a 1x4 frame, and then 3/8 plywood on the back.
Okay, and I've got a GoPro behind it. In case one scoots through, we can highlight that. And Stick with me real quick. I'll get the camera on the tripod, and Al's going to shoot these. What are they? They are gold tip Hunter 340s.
Yeah, gold tip. Well, we can go ahead and tell you what broadheads we're using. Well, I'm actually have to do it again for my camera too. But
right.
We're using gold tip Pro Hunter arrows. We have 4 different fixed blade heads. We have the G5 Striker, the Muzzy MX3, the Wasp Drone, and the Wasp Boss.
Okay.
So those are very popular heads, known for sharpness and good penetration. So we're going to put them up against each other and see what happens.
Here we go.
And we finished a mechanical test earlier. Now we're going to do the same thing here with some fixed blade heads. We have with us the Wasp Boss, the Wasp Drone, which the Wasp heads have got a history of just phenomenal performance. Very sharp heads, and you saw them earlier on a video we did where we shoved them through the rubber bands. I see a little bit of a nick in this one, huh? That's funny. Anyway, a Wasp is a Pennsylvania-based company, 100% U.S. made. That's a good thing there. The Muzzy MX3, not sure where they're made anymore. We can't find evidence, not clear evidence as to where they're made anymore. They were purchased by an investment group some years back. So, and knowing the investment group that owns them, we highly suspect that they are now made overseas. Here again, most likely China, but we don't know that for sure. So the G5 Striker, 100% US made except for the blades. The blades come out of Germany from a place called Lutz Cutlery. If you're familiar with cutlery at all, you'll know that Lutz for years has been making some of the finest cutlery and blades on the planet. So American-made heads, the G5 Striker, except for the blades, and the Wasp are all 100% US made. So we're going to blast these things through the plywood. You can see it down there. I basically made a plywood box out of some scrap. We have 5/8 thick plywood on the face, separated with a 1x4 frame, and 3/8 plywood on the back side. So we're going through about a total of 7/8 of an inch, almost an inch worth of plywood. So anyhow, we're going to see what happens here. So check with us. Just hang on. Do I get my bow? The bow we are using. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering here a little bit, folks. I've got something else in my mind. The arrow we're using is a Gold Tip Hunter Pro 340. This arrow, totally made up, weighs 390 grains, and the bow we're using is the new 2020 Martin 80X6. This bow is shooting that 390 grain arrow at 284 feet a second. So let's shoot it and we'll see what the results are. Alright, first up, we're going to shoot the Muzzy MX3. Now, this bow's not really tuned or sighted in for these heads, so I hope I hit the plywood. So here goes. Alright, next up is the G5 Striker V2, one of the more impressive heads I've shot. Alright, next up is the Wasp Drone, which, by the way, folks, the difference between the Wasp Boss and the Drone, the Boss has an aluminum ferrule and the Drone has a steel ferrule. They both have the stainless steel trocar tip, but the difference is in the ferrule itself. So the next up is the Wasp Drone. Alright, and the last one is the Wasp Boss. We'll see how it does. Alright, well, let's go take a peek downrange and see what we have here. We're not shutting any cameras off, so nobody can say we cheated anything or edited nothing out here. Chris has to get his camera off the tripod here with one hand, so the film's going to look a little bit weird here for a minute. Okay, now let's walk up here and we'll see what we got. Keeping in mind, folks, there's not near as much height and not near as much hoopla around fixed blade heads these days as there is mechanicals. But we kind of lean to the fixed blade heads simply because there's nothing to go wrong. They either when you shoot a fixed blade head, folks, one thing about a fixed blade head, it works every single time. Whether you miss that animal or hit that animal, it's cutting something. So let's see what we got here. Okay, it looks like
boy, they're all, if you look across here,
yeah, they're all
penetration wise, they are equal.
The only one that made it through the plywood by about an inch is the Wasp Boss. All right, the other ones didn't quite make it through there. Ouch, we got to pay attention. Some of these are heads from it. Actually, it did.
Yeah.
Actually, folks, the only two heads that made it completely through the plywood, I'm talking 5/8 and 3/8. So that's a total of an inch worth of plywood. The only two that made it through were the Wasp Drone and the Wasp Boss.
Yeah.
The Striker, which had been one of my favorites for years, just tips coming through here, and the Muzzy made it about the same as the Striker, just a little faint tip poking through. Yeah. But buddy, that's actually that's pretty impressive. Buddy, that's an inch worth of plywood right there. A whole inch, and there's two wasp heads did real good. Wow, that's actually pretty impressive.
And they held up 100% inside?
Yep, absolutely. You can see
no blade loss?
I'll see if I can't pull them. This is the Muzzy. I'm not gonna, all right, this is the Striker. Let me pull all these out of here if I can, then we'll unscrew the heads. Yo! Whew! A lot of work for an old man. Now I've got to be careful I don't slice myself wide open here. All right, well, we're going to screw these heads here, folks, out of this box so you can see this is a Wasp Boss. Absolutely zero damage. Not a nick, no bending, nothing. Absolutely zero damage. So we'll stick that one right here so I can cut my wrist on it later. Let's get that arrow out of there. The next one up is going to be the Wasp Drone. How can I get my hand down in here? I gotta be careful, there's other broadhead sticking in this plywood. Okay, it's coming. Give me a minute. Gotta get up in here where I can unscrew it. Got damn plywood chips in the freaking road here. Let me get rid of the plywood chips so I can get the blade to spin. Okay, there we go. There we go. Oops, I got a broadhead down there. That doggone. Get out of the way. All right, that's coming. Be patient, people. It's coming. It's worth the wait. I don't really expect people to see any damage on any of these heads. All these heads have a pretty good reputation of durability. Unlike a lot of mechanicals, blades will bend off, break off, the whole 9 yards. That's the Wasp Drone. Here again, absolutely zero damage. Absolutely zero. I'm telling you, people, Wasp has done a tremendous job on their broadheads, as G5 has done also on the Striker, which is next here. It's a lot easier if I can spin that arrow than the broadhead. This is a G5 Striker. I see a little nicks in the blade here, and it's actually loose because I unscrewed it out of the arrow. So you got to have the arrow on there to hold the blades in place. But here again, you can see zero damage. Other than some nicks in the blade, it's straight, it's not bent, the blades are perfectly fine. Now, let's get to the Muzzy. If there's something wrong with the Muzzy, I'll actually absolutely be shocked, because the Muzzy's a pretty tough head. The only thing is, lately, folks, Muzzy has been bought by a investment group, and investment groups, being what they are, they worry more about this than they do the quality of the product. And we have noticed over the years that the muzzies, I'm sorry, it's hiding my back to the camera, that's a no-no. Muzzy, over the years, since investment groups bought them, we have seen some inferiorities in the head. The parts, the tip and the blades don't fit in quite as tight and true to tolerance like they were in the past when they were private owned, and they're not as sharp as they once were. So that's why we kind of suspect that the manufacturers of that head took it to overseas manufacturing somewhere. However, that aside, it zero damage, which we really didn't expect any of these heads to show damage. I can't even think that I've even shot a fixed blade head of it from anybody's head that displayed damage in this particular test. Now, we have shot them through steel drums, and we've had quite a bit of damage on fixed blade heads then, but nevertheless, these 4 heads, obviously, the two clear-cut winners in this test is absolutely the Wasp. They easily out-penetrated everything else by a good 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch through an inch worth of plywood. So that's actually pretty impressive. Now, people say, why are you using plywood for? There's no plywood on deer. Well, no kidding. You know, there's no plywood on deer. It's not the point. The point is that the plywood represents heavy bone, like in an elk or in a moose or a bear, whatever you're going after, even a big mule deer. That represents heavy bone. Animals have bones. If you make a bad shot, especially on the prairie states where I came from, you might have to take a 60-70 yard shot of the mule deer. You're losing energy as it is, and then you hit bone on top of that. You better have a head that'll get through there, and a lot of the 2-inch cut mechanicals just won't have the penetration to get through those vitals, especially if you hit heavy bone. And some guys say, "Well, my range will get through." Yeah, if you're shooting 70 pounds and you got a 31-inch draw length and a heavy arrow, okay, I get it. But the point is, most bow hunters aren't shooting 70 pounds, and very, very few of them have a 30+ inch draw length. The average bow hunter is 28 to 29 inch draw length, and most bow hunters, simply because of the dynamics of it, are getting older. Most bow hunters are 40+ years old, and they're dropping their bow weights down to 60, 65 pounds. So anytime you do that, you're getting a little bit behind the curve, so to speak. However, it is what it is. That doesn't mean being behind the curve in this situation is a bad thing. What it means is you got to be smarter about what broadhead you're sticking on the end of your arrow. The Wasp Boss and Drone. Next would be that striker. Now, obviously, you can see a difference in the length of the cut there, but nevertheless, any one of those 3 heads, I've shot them all. I've shot deer with all of them. I've shot deer with the muzzies too. But like I said, lately, these 3 heads are going to be our top pick. The Wasp Boss over here, the Wasp Drone, G5 striker, that muzzy, okay, whatever. You can use it if you want to. We won't, but that's up to you guys. So anyway, that's it. So, I'm Albert Moore from Blue Jacket Archery. Come on down to that little cabin in the valley and see what hunters actually shoot. Until then, folks, remember to like us and share us on Facebook, and have a great day. Thank you for watching.